Let's go to the kingstoyota.com hotline. Very excited to welcome in our next guest. He's going to be in town tomorrow night. He's going to be at the Roosters in Springdale, I think it's 7 o'clock tomorrow night, signing his new book. The book is titled Tailgate to Heaven, A British NFL Fan Tackles America. Now get this. He, in 2008, he sold his flat and left his job and his girlfriend in London for American football. And he traveled 65,000 miles to watch 40 NFL games in 18 weeks to experience the NFL and to experience tailgating. And as it turns out, he wrote a book about it. One British NFL fan, one NFL season, 40 games, one book. For more on that, pleasure to welcome in the author of that book, Adam Goldstein. Adam, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm fascinated by your story. I'm so glad you could check in tonight. What made you do it? Why does somebody living in London sell his flat and leave his girlfriend behind to travel the U.S. and watch NFL football?
Well, I've always been a big football fan, even though I'm from London. I'm actually a Bears fan. But it was only for 20 years of my life, I've always seen football, what's been on the TV. But it's only when I went to a Monday night game in '06, and I left early, when I actually saw people with their TV screens, their grills, their satellites in the car parking lot. And I was flabbergasted that they weren't in the stadium. They've driven so far to watch it on TV in the car park. Because at home in England, we don't go to games very early, or if we do, it's, there's just a little bit of pre-drink at a pub. There's no tailgating. So when I discovered that this Arizona fan was so nice to me and cooking for me, even though I was the away fan, I just thought this was rather bizarre, and I thought it was a one-off. That he told me, it's like, no, we're tailgaters, and this is what fans do at football games. And I was kind of gobsmacked because I've been a football fan for so long. So I thought, you know what, mate, I'd like to check out the food and the culture and the fan base of each team. And being from England, I can't obviously do a game each week. So I thought, I wonder if I could do every team in one season. So I knew I had to leave the job, and I knew I had to leave the girlfriend at home. And then the last point was, how do I get the money? So the apartment went up for sale, and hit the road.
Adam, it must have been as new as this, as you were to this, it must have been fascinating from one city to the next, one stadium to the next, to see the different, the pregame rituals, the foods, the presentations. It must have been amazing.
Oh, it certainly was. And, I was a bit reticent early on, thinking that fans might think I'm not really a fan because I'm going from each team to I was a home fan for each game. Yeah. But actually, the tailgaters and the fans were just so open and so welcoming. And, your local crew, the Bengal Bomb Squad, they were like, open up their arms to me and just fed me, gave me food, local drink, sometimes the phone number of their daughters, whatever it is they could do,
What does your family think when you gather them and say, hey, I'm doing this? I'm sure there's a look of shock on their face. What did they say?
Yeah, my parents were a little surprised, and they've been supportive, and they're really proud of me and really proud I got the book out. My girlfriend, who is now actually my fiance, she went home yesterday. She was with me on the book tour for 4 weeks.
Whoa, so the one you left behind, you actually went back and got?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there was a little bit of I don't want to say a rift, but it was quite difficult for her because she didn't know what tailgating is. She had only
she said, you want to do what? And you want me to go with you?
Well, she was like, you're going to sell the flat and leave me for a few months? So I didn't exactly tell her on our first date. I mean, I had the idea of the trip before meeting her, but I kind of brought it in gently. And then I said to her, look, I'll bring you out. I brought her out for the last few games, and it was really important that she would enjoy the tailgate at least. Yeah. And now she was gobsmacked herself because her ex was into soccer and he took her to a few games and there's a lot of fights and stuff. So she was as astounded as I was originally, and she was on this tour for, as I said, the first 4 weeks, and we've been tailgating, and she now is a Browns fan. So,
see, now we've got a problem. If she's a Browns fan, we might have a problem with her, Adam.
So shall I not marry her then? What do you think?
You're not from here. See, if you're from here, you can't marry a Browns fan. It's kind of like Bengals and Browns fans. We don't get along.
Yeah.
So when you do this, when you travel 65,000 miles and 40 games, how did you travel and where did you stay during this?
Well, I drove, obviously, because, it's the tailgating form of transport.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a few that obviously flew to London. I flew to Canada. And towards the end, when it was getting cold and I was burning out in the snow, I did a few sort of leave my car with a friend and then sort of flew a couple.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I drove it. And I've been driving this book tour as well, which is 17,000 miles. And this is quite demanding.
Wow.
More demanding. But, I drove it and I stayed with either a few friends that I already knew, crappy motels, or some tailgaters put me up. They met me at the stadium and were like, "Why don't you need a place to crash?" So I was like, "Okay, sure."
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Adam Goldstein is our guest. The book is Tailgate to Heaven. A British NFL fan tackles America. He sold his flat, left his job and his girlfriend in London for the U.S. and the NFL and traveled 65,000 miles to watch NFL games over 18 weeks. Was the book part of the plan to begin with, or did you get into this and say, you know what, this would make a heck of a book?
No, well, it wasn't a plan. The plan was to show to people in Britain and I guess non-NFL fans to a certain extent what tailgating and basically all we get at home is what's on the field. So I wanted to show the extreme fans, the flavors, the food. So I had a blog, and then when I came back, I thought let's try it as a book. 167 publishers said no, and the lovely people at Potomac Books out of DC, they said yes, an American publisher. But the book is actually written with Englishisms and in English spelling, so I've had some readers get a little confused, but they've been supportive, and I've met them, and they're even a little gobsmacked that I'm doing this this tour, which takes me to every NFL city in like 50 days. So they were a little bit sort of surprised that I'm basically doing book signings in sports bars at tailgates, which is quite unorthodox, but I guess it sort of mirrors the original trip. So,
Adam, along the way, you obviously met a bunch of cool fans who were tailgating. Did you meet celebrities or did you meet any players?
Yeah, I did. I met Mike Ditka, and as a Bears fan, that was really cool. I actually it's a cool story. I met D'Angelo Williams, the running back of the Carolina Panthers, and that whole team. And that was the night. It was a Monday night game against the Bucks, and that was the night I brought Steph, my girlfriend, now fiance. I brought her out to America, and it turned out that was our 2-year anniversary. So the first year I took her to Milan, very romantic, and then I upped the romantic stakes by taking her to a Monday night football game.
I love it.
And I had met D'Angelo's girlfriend a previous game, and she stayed in touch with me, and he gave me his game day boots signed from that game.
Really?
Which I thought was a lovely romantic, best anniversary gift anyone's given me. So we spent the night hanging out with the players that night. And I've met Jared Allen. Who else did I meet? There's a few players out there that I've met, and which has been pretty cool.
Do you have a favorite stadium that you went to?
Well, a lot of people ask that, and it probably comes down to two. Either Lambeau Field, which is strange because I'm a Bears fan, but just the old, it just felt like football. It just feels, real and sort of hearty. And then in terms of the modern stadium, probably the University of Phoenix. Maybe I'm biased because that's where I had the original idea. Maybe it was because it was a Monday night, it was electric. But it was a really gobsmacking stadium. The other week we did go to the new Cowboy Stadium, but we went just for the stadium tour. That was pretty cool. But a lot of the stadiums, I mean, they're so big and so, at soccer, we only have a few stadiums that are as big as yours. So it is pretty cool that, all your stadiums are really new and fantastic.
So am I correct? You're going to be at Roosters in Springdale tomorrow night. What time and what's going to be going on?
7 p.m. tomorrow. It's a book signing, but they're quite unusual book signings. It's not like I'm sitting there and there's thousands of people. I'm gonna be with the Bengal Bomb Squad, and they're a tailgating group. And
that's a great group. That may be my favorite group.
Oh, good. I'm sure they'll be pleased you said that. And then we're just going to hang out, have some drinks, have some wings, and maybe play. I've got a beer pong table with my book cover on it, so maybe we'll play some beer pong. Just hang out, have a good night, and if people want to check out the book, then they could come along.
And I believe your website is tailgatetoheaven.com, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Excellent. Hey, it's I can't wait to get my hands on it, to read it, and just reading the reviews and talk with people who've been around you on these trips. They got the biggest kick out of it. It's a cool story. And congrats on the book, and enjoy the rest of this tour. All right.
Thank you so much for having me. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Take care, Adam. All right, Adam Goldstein. The book is Tailgate to Heaven: A British NFL Fan Tackles America. Gobsmack, completely dumbfounded or shocked, would be the dictionary definition, as I understand it. I kind of like that. You know, Randy Slack, I may start using the word gobsmack. Dusty Baker's lineup tonight left me gobsmacked. What? Drew Stubbs? Wait a minute. The lineup tonight is what? Drew Stubbs followed by Wilson Valdez. I'm gobsmacked. I don't have the accent, though. It doesn't quite fit. I need the accent behind it like he had. TailGateToHeaven.com tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at Roosters in Springdale. Yeah, I can just see, as I rewind the calendar back to the days when I first met Kelly at CLTV in Chicago. She was an intern. I can just imagine a couple of months into that saying, hey, I'm going to sell my apartment. I'm leaving this job, and I'm going to London to write a book about Premier League soccer. Wait for me. Yeah, fat chance that would have happened.